Listen, I be digging. First of all, like I love this business. I love media. I went to school for journalism, but I have also worked in healthcare for 20 plus years.
Okay.
And I finally walked away from my job like 2 years ago to just
Okay.
do media and create my own platforms, which I've been doing all along anyway. But
Yeah.
it's like it's up, it's down, but it's like the best thing I could have ever did in my life. Like I'm doing what I love to do. So like when these opportunities pop up, it's like shit, like okay, like this is cool. I'm like, she on Raising Cannon. Like I'm like I can't wait to talk to her. And it's crazy because I'm really just now getting into Raising Cannon. Like I
Yeah.
was watching you know, when Power first came on, and then when he started branching off into the different series, I watched like with Mary J. Blige. But some of them I couldn't really get into. So
Uh-huh. I
and
think
plus
Gen
because I work
Xers can relate to Raising Canaan.
say that
I
again.
think Gen Xers can relate a little bit just because watching the clothes
A little
and all,
bit.
yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. But I love your trajectory. I love everything that you're doing. I love the fact that you kind of bounce all over the place. So you cooking, and and I'm like, damn, she cooking. Um, like everything that you're doing, like I just think it's amazing. So kind of take me back to really just how you got started all together. Um, like what was the first thing that you really delved into?
That's a tough one because there's a symbiosity to everything I've been doing. It's kind of all been streaming all along. You just don't realize it.
Yeah,
Um, well, acting, since you covered that, that's something I've chased, and media, actually. It's something that I chased since I was young. I took my first acting class in high school. I think then, though, I didn't know you could pursue acting in college. It's not something I really, saw that was tangible until I actually saw theater students doing it.
right.
Uh, I went in for communications, much like you, because I thought, okay, well, that's something tangible. I remember our school taking us to a newsroom where I grew up, and seeing that this was actually achievable, and that's what I studied. I was a comm major, um, but breaks in between. I had kids, and life did what life does,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
there were many breaks in between. So
yeah. And that absolutely happens. I have a 17-year-old, so it was
yeah,
like once I really and I think I've known my whole life that I wanted to be in the entertainment business, but I
hmm
didn't really know what aspect of it. So once I really figured out, okay, communications is my thing, and I have a knack for reaching out to people and really getting through to them, and securing interviews and that sort of thing. And it's like I love doing it. So like when I finally figured that out, my son came along, and it was like, okay, um,
life is like you gonna wait.
yeah,
You
it's
will
it's
wait.
like what I do. But
Yeah,
I did
yeah.
some work like
Suddenly it takes control. Yeah.
yeah, but I did some work early on, like for Radio One. I worked for the NBC affiliate here in Cleveland because I'm based in Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
And I did like some, covering BET awards and Soul Train awards and stuff like that. And kind of after doing that stuff, I really got the kind of the knack for just kind of building my own platforms.
You did quite
So
a bit, actually.
yeah, but
You did.
I've been doing this. I mean, I've been doing media honestly since 2001. So I mean, it's been 20 plus years. But
Yeah.
I love doing this and having, the opportunity not only to speak with people like you, but just to see how our lives really parallel, and
Yeah.
how we really connect and relate and all of that stuff. And I just feel like a lot of your journey really, mirrors mine, just in terms of working on different things and kind of, dabbling in, in different genres and, things like that. You getting into communications, like, did you really know, I guess, theoretically what you wanted to do with it, or were you just kind of
I knew I loved the camera, to be
okay?
honest. Like that's
Yeah,
really,
I always
I
hated the
think,
camera until now.
well,
I,
it's funny. No, I enjoyed it. I shied away from picture cameras, right? Like my worst to this day. If somebody asked me to take a photo, I'm like, but a video camera, something about it, I loved it. You know what I mean? And I love that whole world. And it didn't really matter to me. I just like cameras. That's the one part I did know. Um, communications just was it back then. I think you mentioned you were a journalism major. Like right now, I noticed when I went back to school as an adult, the majors are much more broken down, right? There's
Absolutely.
journalism and reporting and writing.
Absolutely.
Back then, back then it was just communications. You were a comm major.
And that's, being honest, that's what mine is. It's just a straight
Mhm.
comm
And
because
it
what,
kind of was all encompassing.
yeah,
Then. But I knew that the aim for me was definitely television,
yeah,
and where I ended up, I wasn't sure. And it's interesting because you fast forward years later, having gone back as an adult and having done acting in certain little different things, I have like 3 or 4 resumes. So I think they had to tell me in the school that I was like I'm what you call a multimedia hyphenate at this point,
yeah.
because
Uh,
I have an actor resume that I can only use for acting. I have a general resume for the jobs I've had, and which include, basically my plan B, right? The hairdressing and all that things that I did while I was raising the kids. And then you have, now having gone to school, the media resume that I was beginning to build. Where do you I don't know if it parallels with you like that, or if yours went straight
yeah,
forward. That's how mine is. It's
yeah,
definitely, and that's what you see. I think that's what you're seeing on social media with all the different loves, right? Because we're multidimensional. We're not,
right,
people are not just one thing, right? It
right.
may seem like that sometimes to people on looking, but we love a lot of things. I like acting, but I also like to paint, and I spent 20 years cutting hair, so that stuff all surfaces.
Yeah. I mean, I think I just love more so. I guess when I say that we parallel, like when life hit, like you kind of
Mhm.
found other loves and other things
Yeah.
that you were really into. Being a
Yeah,
hairstylist,
well, you're a
yeah,
creative anyway. That's the bottom line to it. And even though life hit, you had to find ways to continue to be creative. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Yeah. I used to draw as a kid. I couldn't really do that once I started raising kids. Like I have a friend,
Yeah,
Range, really popular upstate. He's a massive graffiti artist and talented in other ways in art as well. And he's been featured in museums. And I watched this man, and I remember envying like how he was able to continually every day of his life he kept that art. And I'm like, man, I gotta change diapers. Like it just it stopped. But it's true. It is what it is. But as a creative, it
yeah,
surfaced elsewhere, right? My kids' rooms had murals all over them. And if
right.
I couldn't do that, you saw me doing it in the hair industry, or
Yeah,
you saw me learning it. Like the art has to come because that's what you are, right? And if you can't do it on one medium, you're going to do it on another because it's what you are. You take that away and you're not living. So
right. How do you feel like that creativity helped you with raising your kids?
it's a debatable thing as to whether or not it helped me. I mean, I don't know if I'm the best person to be asking that question. I definitely shared my art with them. I definitely introduced them when they were little.
Yeah,
They didn't. I think my son was what I used to call a natural. He liked being in front of the stage and the camera. My daughter not so much, but her art came out in different ways. It is hereditary because her art came out in her actual artwork and in her making things, and you saw that right away. My son more with music and sing. It just comes out. I think if I helped in any way is just to teach them that there are no boundaries. You can
that part right there.
achieve
Because I was
anything.
gonna say, if anything, it'll help them to see that they really can, like, they can conquer their dreams and they can,
You can.
go after
Yeah.
what they really want.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope if I've taught them anything in life, it's if you're broke, it's because you want to be.
Right,
And and yes, you can pursue these things. Will it take a long time? Yeah, but they've grown up watching me audition. They've literally grown up watching me audition every day of their God-given life, and finally booking something that's SAG-AFTRA in these past couple years.
right.
So, you know, it's only a numbers game if you continue to persist. And at least hopefully I've taught them that.
Absolutely. Now you've obviously had like an amazing journey, through the acting world. You are Meisner trained. Kind of tell everybody what that means.
How to sum that up? It's like Meisner teaches you to listen to your partner very heavily, right? Instead of and every character that you bring, a piece of you comes into that character, but it's a lot of listening, it's a lot of repetition, and your scene is not about you, your scene is about that person and what you need to get out of that person and what that person is saying and how it's affecting you. And that's what Meisner focused on. So in many ways, Meisner spills over into real life, which can get you into trouble. but 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 that's what it is. You're telling a vivid and real tale, but it's under imaginary circumstances. It's one of the expressions that they use there a lot, and I might be misquoting it, but Meisner is, I think of all the techniques I've learned, it's the one that sung to me the most, and it's the one that I've clung to the most. So,
Are there roles that help that is more of a help to you in, and then roles where that is not necessarily a help?
yeah, I bring it to every character I play.
Okay.
Every single one, right down to even just studying the character and studying the script. And, I do a lot of analysis before I even try to memorize the lines. So yeah, I would say it comes into every character I play.
Yeah.
Single one.
Now, I don't know which role you do is bigger, whether it's Raising Kanan, whether it's as the hairstylist on there, or if it's Law and Order, because I love Law and Order.
Law and Order, I don't have a named character yet. I'm a clerk, and I've just been blessed that they brought me back again to play the same judge. You know what I mean? I announced the docket cases, but in Raising Kanan is the biggest for me because it is my first recurring role. It's the first time I booked a role where I come back more than once. And then the Law and Order thing happened after, which was a blessing. It was the first job I got after the strike. The strike ended, and to my surprise, they called back and said, "Do you want to come back and play the clerk again?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah."
No, that's really amazing. Like, even with Raising Kanan, like how did that come along? Like, how did you end up, obviously being a part of it?
I auditioned for it. I self-taped. My managers, I have a manager and an agent. That you get these bigger auditions through these people, and I worked many years to get them and to secure them. But I auditioned for it. I sent in a self-tape, and they liked it, and they called me in, which I'm grateful for eternally.
Yeah, I mean that's really dope to be part of that. And I mean, there's obviously so many amazing people, like Patina's on there, and I seen that. Well, hell, he's dying off the show now. But Joey Badass, I'm like, just when I start watching the show, I'm like, well, shit, this character's dying off. But I mean,
you want to know what fascinated me the most, because I referred to being a Gen Xer earlier? Omar Epps. My age is showing, but because Patina and Joey Badass, they're amazing. They're amazing. Yeah. I've gotten to learn a lot about them, but they're younger, they're new blood, right?
Yeah.
But Omar Epps, I haven't had the pleasure of meeting him yet, but I'll be honest with you, I was in a trailer, getting my wig put on, and he was there. He was over there, like literally 2 chairs down, having a conversation. Like Patina was there. They're all having a conversation, and I was so I couldn't even turn my head. Like, I didn't even want to. You talk about somebody being silent and a fly on the wall, but the whole time they're putting my wig on, I'm like, Omar Epps is over there.
Right.
Omar, you're thinking like Love and Basketball, and what was it? How high? Not how high. What was it? The old timer, Ice. Like, this is my generation, so I'm fan base. Like, I'm in the same trailer with Omar Epps. I'll die with that.
I mean, but I get it though, because like that's my era. So like I absolutely get it. I mean, it's the same.
Grew up with young Omar,
but probably the same way you felt with him, I feel the same way when I get around, like, musically, like the SWVs and the Totals and the. I'm like,
it's all that same generation. It's all that was the 90s.
I'm like, listen, I'm 46, but I still get excited by like all of that stuff when I go out and I do shows. And like I just did a show with. I went and covered Escape. They were in Columbus, Ohio.
They're still touring. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, it was just like, you would have thought I was 13. Like, I was in the front row, and I'm just like, oh my God, like I get it.
Yeah. That was the exciting part for me. And but I haven't said a word to him. I wouldn't have dared, but just knowing that the same trail, I was like, Omar Epps is right there. I swear to God, it was all I could do to be like.
Nah, so I think this is really cool. With this digital magazine that I have, like, one of the things that I really try to do, I mean, obviously I want to cover entertainers and actors and musicians and whatnot, but I like to be able to cover people that like you can really see like their journey and the different stuff that they've done and how hard they've worked to really achieve it. Because part of what we're doing is really trying to show kids and really anybody looking at it like you really can accomplish the things that you really want to accomplish out here. And I think
Yeah.
that you've done amazing. Like there's so much that you're doing. Like how is it like even with raising Kanan, like you're playing a hairstylist, but you've been a hairstylist for over 20 years. Like,
So
how
I
is
am.
that to come into the role doing something that clearly you know how to do already anyway?
Well, the acting is the acting, right? I still have to act, but certain mannerisms came to me naturally, right? I didn't have to.
Right.
When you're acting, right? What can be difficult is if they have you, because you have to be believable, right? You still have to be frying an egg while you're acting or bouncing a ball, and you already focus on one thing, and you got for me naturally the flicking of the cape and pulling rollers. That I didn't have to pretend on that. I just had to
Right.
focus on my conversation and the role and what was needed for that character. But the mannerisms, nobody had to teach me how to do any of that because it's just what you do,
Yeah.
And ironically, I did a theater production as well. When the theaters started opening back up in New York City in COVID, the first performance that I did, I played a hairstylist as well. I did a theater production called Ruby of Elsinore, where I was on stage the whole time doing the hair for Hamlet, his mother, the father, the king, everybody in that Shakespearean play, but it was a modern take on it. It was a comedy, but I was
Yeah.
a hairstylist, and same thing came into play. I had all my lines and everything, but I'm literally doing updos on stage,
Absolutely.
taking capes on and off. Yeah. While I have some of the recording of this and putting on little wig pieces and stuff while
Right.
I'm delivering my lines.
Right.
So having it's in the body, right? That's something they tell you in the gym all the time. They tell you to practice your ones and twos and all this stuff and certain um combinations over and over and over and over and over, or every time you get hit back, hit immediately
Right.
because it becomes muscle memory, right? And I think that was the blessing that I had having already been a hairstylist.
Yeah.
Physically, there was
I look
no
at it like it's divine purpose because like, obviously you're doing something that you love, but you're kind of able to blend it all together. So like, being able to blend in everything that you love doing. And I would imagine why that's probably why they love you so much, just because you came into the role.
yeah. Maybe. Let's hope so. Let's hope they love me some more, son. Let's like do it for me.
Right.
But yeah, I'm sure it did help, and even in hairstyling, that's a stage in of itself, just to talk about the parallels that we keep talking about. That's a stage
Right.
in of itself. You're doing hair, sometimes you're by a window, but you're being watched the whole time, and it's a whole nother persona, you
Right.
know. Um, so it definitely helps. I see parallels in everything I've done in life. That all
Absolutely.
together. Yeah.
So kind of looking ahead, obviously Law and Order is coming up and that's January 24th, I think it's coming on or
I think it's the
somewhere.
18th. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah,
I believe
somewhere
I'm
around.
I'm in the first episode just announcing a case. So let's pray that nothing gets cut and
Right.
because that's always the thing, right? You don't know. Every time I get a role and things like that, I usually don't tend to do watch parties or things like that because you just don't know what's going to end up on the
Right.
cutting room floor.
Absolutely.
And God forbid I have a whole gathering of people in my house just to find out. Right, because it happened on Raising Canaan. I showed up on the second episode I recorded, and God willing, I'm going to show up this week because we recorded about 3 episodes. But the first one, all you saw was a sliver of me and maybe my arm. Like I knew it was me because I recorded it, but
Yeah.
it was more of a very extreme close up on Rock's face while I was washing her hair.
Yeah.
You didn't really get to see me, and it's funny. That's just how that industry works. You don't know what's gonna. I got paid for it. I did it. I was there. A lot of people were there. You'd be surprised how much footage was filmed at an entire salon scene.
Yeah.
Um, but in the end, it's about what tells the story, what you can crunch into all that time. And, so fingers crossed that I
Yeah.
show up again on Law and Order. Fingers crossed that my last scene was with Raising Canaan is still there. We'll all find out together. But that's part
Now,
of that world.
what has been your takeaway like obviously from this project and having the blessing and the opportunity of doing this, what's been your takeaway that you think will be able to help you in your upcoming roles and the next things that you do?
I mean, just keep being yourself, keep grinding. And if one doesn't work out, you keep going. There's more. There's nothing but productions going up left and right, right? your time will come. Keep hustling, keep being yourself. Don't stop being yourself. Um, every production that I go on, whether they like it or not, I always tend to go to the cameras and give them my dance. There's so much footage of every show I've been on, and it is what it is. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'll continue to do it because that's Irma.
Yeah.
You kiss me, and then that's the end of that. You only live
Yeah.
once. I go by that motto all day. La vida
Like
es
what
una.
like what do your kids think? Like, obviously looking at, everything it is that you're doing now. Like I mean, are they of that age where they know what's going on and all that?
Yeah, they're grown. That's why I have
Oh,
time. They're grown. They what, like I say, they were watching me when they were little. They've always watched me audition. This has been a long time coming. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And there were certain breaks because teenage years. And those rebellions came in, and I couldn't focus on it. My real life took precedence. I think they're proud. I think to
Yeah.
some extent they probably think I'm off. But
Yeah.
I think most kids think their parents are a little off. But they're proud, and they do
Yeah.
tell me that, and that gives me a little bit of a
Yeah. I
yeah.
think it's kind of like, I think it's easy for us, given the things that we do. I think it's very easy for us to kind of blow things off, or not necessarily blow it off, but we just don't really look at it like it's such a big thing or whatnot. But I think it's amazing what you do. And like, it really lends to the idea that when life happens and when other things are going on and you kind of get, whether it's sidetracked or you end up going in a different direction, like you still can, achieve the things that you really want to achieve. And I mean, you've been working at this for a long time. So
For
like,
a long time, and I've taken a lot of
yeah,
bumps and scrapes, and I
yeah,
still, and I'm still fighting for that trophy.
yeah.
I still got a
Because it's
job,
just
I
with
mentioned
media.
earlier. So,
Yeah,
um, but that's part of it. But fortunately for both of you and I, this is a career where I could practice this till the day that I die. What's going to stop
absolutely.
me? As long as
Absolutely.
my brain is still working, I can do this. I can have no limbs and I can still practice this. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I could just keep going. At some point,
Yeah.
it's
Now,
one
now, kind of going back to, I said you were a queen of all trades. So your beverage company, how does that happen? How do you get into that?
like many people during COVID, right? Well, you can see I wear glasses. I didn't go
Yeah.
back to working at the shop until the mandate was lifted for the masks because I wasn't going to be going through this nonsense
Right.
and I fitted for contacts a while back, and it's just not for me.
It
Um,
ain't. I
during
wear
COVID,
glasses too, believe it or not, and I
yes,
would I refuse to do the contacts. So I just
yeah,
said I
yeah,
ain't
I
doing
can't.
nothing where I got to put something in my.
Same thing during COVID. I got the contacts, thinking you got to go to work. You're gonna need to do contacts because these masks. But like a half hour of doing this and no success and red eye, I was
Uh,
like, you know what? It's not for me. It's not.
yeah,
I'll keep the glasses.
I didn't even
Um,
get that far. I'm like, I ain't doing nothing where I got to put something in my eye. Like I'm not
I
I'm
didn't
not
think it
doing
was gonna be so hard because I remember being younger and we all went through a little color contact phase. I didn't remember having this kind of trouble putting them on.
it. Yeah,
But growing up, Irma had a lot of trouble getting them on, and I don't have the patience for it anymore. I was just like, you know what, glasses it is. So that to circle back around, I waited for the mandate to lift so I could wear the glasses because glasses and mask and slipping off and glasses fogging. Um, but yeah, in the meantime, I was like, so what am I going to do in the meantime to make some money, right?
yeah,
And my thought always goes to, well, what do you already love doing? What do you already love doing? And coquito is
I
something
like
that I was making during the holidays for my family. I was experimenting with it a lot and just trying to get it better every year. And um, I decided to freeze it because coquito. If you know anything about coquito, it's served during the holidays. It's a very
right.
traditional Puerto Rican drink. It's served during the holidays. It's a coconut creme liqueur. And this was like July when I started. I literally went on Amazon with like $60. I bought a cooler and some sleeves, and I froze these drinks. And I ran down the street screaming, I'm in Harlem, and I was just hollering Christmas in July and coquito, and and that's how that went. I mean, from there on, it just took off. I kept hustling. It hasn't been easy. It's had its ups and downs.
Yeah,
Um,
as anything.
yeah. We've recently became an LLC. I still call it a glorified hustle. I'm not making a living off of it, but
Yeah,
it's definitely doing wonderful things, and it's definitely a
absolutely.
nice supplemental income. And in fact, the symbiosity that you're talking about, the money that I made from selling coquito last year is what paid for my SAG membership when I had to join because of
Okay.
race. Yeah, literally the money from one business or one love took care of the other, which is what I
Yeah.
intended for it, to be honest, when I
Now
started.
I think it's amazing. For me, it's not always about the money. Like everything that at this point in my life, I mean, I'm 46, so like everything that I'm doing at this point in my life is all purpose and passion. So like I'm not doing nothing that I don't love to do, and
Mhm.
you know that I just can't see myself doing for the rest of my life. So like I think that's beautiful that you know you can obviously put that together. Like I launched. Now I drive. I mean, Uber was not a love for me, but I drive Uber though, and
Yeah.
pandemic, I mean, kind of the same thing. Like I launched a transportation company because Uber was kind of dying down, and I'm like, well, shit. Like I kind of like driving, like it's paying my bills, like and that turned into something because you know so many people, you know, whether it was just the average everyday person needing a ride, or whether it was somebody needing a ride to dialysis, or you
Yeah.
know, appointments like that. So I mean, it was pretty easy to get it up and get it running, and you know, for it to really become something. So like
Yeah.
I still have that, and then I'm still doing all the media, and I'm still driving Uber and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
And you
I'm
gotta
kind of
do that.
all
That's
over.
what you want to do, because the bills are
Absolutely.
gonna get paid regardless
I'm trying to tell
while
you.
you're doing this.
I'm trying to tell you. So no,
Yeah.
I think that's really amazing. Like at from this point or from where you are now, like where do you feel like you really want things to go moving forward?
Higher and higher. Like the vision that I have is to be in film and to be a series regular, which is when you are like what Patina is or like what Joey Badass is. Those are series regulars. They're a part of the show. You're gonna see them every week.
Right.
Um, that's a goal, getting into a legit film. That's a goal. Taking the beverage company and having somebody invest it to where that's my drink, just like 50 has his Midori and all this stuff. I want to have Coquito Lady and teach that to the
Right.
world. Um, Acting is my number one, but I want all these things to follow with it. Would
Absolutely.
I like to cook at some point and have my own cooking show as well? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think I
um,
think I
no,
think that's amazing.
all of it, yeah. But again, the one underlying thing has always been that camera, you know?
Yeah.
No matter what I'm doing, I love the camera.
I mean,
So
but it still it lends to the idea that you can do everything it is that you want out here. Like you don't have to be stuck, you know, to one thing. Like
yeah.
you can do all the stuff that you want to do out here, and it's okay to
Mhm.
you know have different hustles. And you know, so many people kind of go through life and they feel like this has to be my career, and I can't do these other things because I really should be doing this, or this is what I went to school for. And like you can
Well,
do
this is
whatever
what
you.
we're taught, right? You're taught go to school, be a nurse, or go to school. You have that 9 to 5, and you retire, and and there's nothing wrong with that. Your generation, it's by design, it's systematic, and you're also taught. Your generations teach you what you know. And each generation, each younger generation, like we had trouble watching our kids on these YouTubes talking about I want to be a YouTube star, but the reality is that's the reality now.
Right.
People are making money if they know how to make a career out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Being taught in schools, like things change for every generation, and I think for every generation, it's hard to understand what the new one is doing because we're used to our ways. That's what we were taught: go to school, get a job. Um, and again, nothing wrong with it, but it might not be the same page for everybody. Some people are not
Absolutely.
meant to be working a 9 to 5. Some people are meant to be entrepreneurs. Some people are meant to be on social media. Some people are meant to be whatever. Some people just blindly follow their passion and make it. It's everybody's story is a little different. And we're not all on the same timeline as we're all learning as adults, right? We thought as kids we had to be on this same timeline, like be married by the time you're whatever, 25, have your house,
Right.
but my life don't look nothing like that. I did it completely
Yeah.
backwards. My kids came first,
Mhm.
the jobs, school came back later. Like it's all out of whack. It's coming together,
Yeah.
it's never too late. I got married later in life. I got married a year ago. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Um,
Congratulations.
I mean, it's my second marriage, but it's my
Yeah.
first real like love. I feel like it's,
Yeah.
um, life doesn't have a timeline like we've been taught. And we can
Absolutely.
make what did Outcast say? You could plan pretty picnics, but you can't predict the weather. Like it's just it is what
Right.
it is.
Right.
You can make a lot of plans and they're good. It's good to plan, right? Because failure to plan is a plan to fail. But expect bumps in the road and just be able to pivot and work with them. That's all I would say to that.
Absolutely. Um, I love this opportunity. I'm grateful to you for the chance to really be able to talk to you and just kind of pick your brain and, see where things are and see what your thoughts are. Final comments, like, is there anything that you really wanted to get out there with the conversation today?
No, you were pretty thorough, son. You were
I guess
pretty.
I guess looking at your LinkedIn, I was, huh?
Oh God, then yeah, you found my radio show. That was it, honestly, that Brooklyn College though. I'm glad you did bring it up because Brooklyn College is a very good school, I will say.
Yeah.
And if anybody's out there interested in theater program or acting program, they have an excellent theater program. They literally just revamped their theater. And they have a television club, they have all these things, and what you saw was my semester and my internship with their radio station. And I got a chance to do several interviews with people and actually, do the whole journalism bit, write my articles for their newspaper. I wrote several articles and I got to read them on air, and they really prepare you for the world. I mean, have I done anything with that? No, but the experience is there. But the experience is there. You call people up, you interview. Great.
I mean, I think you're using it in ways that you probably don't even realize. Like even with your roles and reading on camera and doing like I think all of that ties.
Oh yeah, I'm completely teleprompter ready, and it's I didn't even know that was a skill. Let me tell you something. I didn't know that was a skill until years ago. I think I was living in Florida back then. I showed up to an audition. They must have been having a really bad day, and because all I remember is the script was in Spanish. I read it. Broop, thank you so much. And then I hear the cameraman arguing with the producer. One take, Jim. She did it in one take. Like clearly he had his mind set on somebody that maybe couldn't do it. I don't know. But that's when I realized, oh, this is a skill. Maybe not everybody can.
It's funny. I used to run the teleprompter when I worked at the TV station here, and in the very beginning, I could not get it together, and the newscasters used to be bitching at me.
That's what I learned at the college. I only knew how to read them. I didn't realize there's a whole control in the back person with a knob. Like I got to experience that at Brooklyn. That's how thorough their station is. They have a legit station. I got to go in the back and see what that looks like. And yeah, I understood what you went through because I remember Nyosha, this girl that was working with me, like, Irma, slow down. You're pushing it too fast. And then I had to learn to. And on the other side was interesting too. Very interesting.
Yeah. No, I really, really appreciate you for this. I think this was really, really dope. It's funny because when I found out that I was going to be, having a conversation with you, then I said, okay, well, let me go and actually check out the show. And I'm like, damn, it's actually good. Like, I don't know why I couldn't get into it before, but it's
because you saw New Jack City, son. That's why you saw New Jack City, and you were like, I've seen enough. I already know what the show is going to be. Because I'm not going to lie, I was like that too. I didn't want to watch. I'm not going to lie. My husband, who was like Greek and Irish, was trying to get me to watch Power. And that was my response. I was like, I saw New Jack City. I don't need to watch a whole series based on the, you know what I mean? Like that's the Generation X speaking out of me. But I'm not going to lie. I watched Power. I watched the first season and I was impressed actually. I mean, it was what I thought it was going to be, but I was still very impressed. The acting was great. The filming was great. The direction was great. Like it surprised me in a very good way. So it's very like kudos to 50 and the people that he's hired, the production team that he's hired. He has a team for all those shows. Let me tell you, when you see the because I was being interviewed and I remember I was asked if I got to meet 50 and I'm like, no, he ain't got time. He's not on set. He has a team of devoted people for each of those shows. Several of them, and it's a unit, and they function, and they know what they're doing, and the collaboration. He don't need to be there. Let's put it that way. Those shows are all in good hands, and I got to see that myself on set. So
now, kudos to you. Yeah, kudos to you. I will be watching. Well, I'll be watching Law and Order anyway, but I will be watching you on Law and Order. Thank you for the opportunity. And I look forward to doing this. Thank you very much. So I'm sure we'll do this again because I always try to get people back and again and all that stuff. So I look forward to doing that again with you. And you have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.